So we continue a little bit more with variation of pressure with depth. आपने देखा कि last time when we were talking about this, the variation of pressure, so we took small distances like delta Z, delta X and so on. The reason is when we need to compute or calculate a large amount, when there is a significant elevation or height and there is a change in rho or something as well, density, the variables that may occur, then in that case we need that kind of information and computation. So if the variation of density with elevation is known, the pressure difference between any 2 points, 1 and 2, can be determined by integration that to be. So delta P, which represents a small difference in pressure, a small change in pressure, and that will be equal to pressure at point 2 minus pressure at point 1. So P2 minus P1. And as we know from calculus that this thing is always computed by integrating over the whole area from between, that is, point 1 to point 2 for the variable. And what is varying? The variation is in Z, the vertical height. And therefore, the pressure change or the difference pressure, or we may even call it the net pressure force, will be equal to integral from point 1 to point 2, whatever points they are. So that will be the difference of the height, rho into G. G is gravitational force. Rho supposed to be known and supposed to be constant. But if it is not constant, even then we need to see how much is it changing and what will be the values of this at point 1 and 2. And that is being integrated with respect to Z. And then this turns out to be the pressure in the end will be P1 equals P2, and this result implies what is pressure? Pressure at a point is known to be force per unit area. So pressure at P1 at point 1 will be force at point 1 divided by area at point 1, and that will be equal to force at point 2 divided by force at area at point 2. So this ratio has force per unit area. If pressure P1 is equal to P2, in that case this ratio must hold. F1 over A1 equals F2 over A2. Or with little algebra, if we cross multiply and divide these numbers, then F2 and F1 will be equal to the same ratio as A2 by A1. So these are small manipulation that we need to calculate if we have to find out pressures at different points at point 1 and point 2, and we are given the values at one point, but we don't know the value at the other point. So altogether, how many unknowns are here? There are 4. 3 of them need to be known, and the 4th one can be calculated, and these ratios must hold. So these are the equations, and that is as much as we have for variation of pressure with depth.